Good afternoon, Whispers, and welcome to another powerful discussion on Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays. I am Sonya LaRae, luxury lifestyle architect specializing in lifestyle counseling, fashion psychology, and naturopathic wellness. It is so good to be back in our safe zone, Whispers, and to welcome you back in to the Whispers Lounge. Whispers, I also want to give you just a few broadcasting notes just to remind you that we are only 2 episodes away from our summer hiatus. So, I am definitely building up to our last episode that we are going to just keep on receiving those master keys. But, Whisperers, before we dive into our discussion, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you want my best tools and master keys, please join the Whispers Exchange newsletter at the link in the description box or come over to Instagram at whispers in a bottle _ and give us a follow and DM me because I got your back all the time. Before Podbean used to have our back, we was in here together live, but you know what? Your girl is making sure that we don't skip a beat. We have another episode up and it is going to be impactful. So I love to start all of our discussions off with a clear meaning or definition, and this isn't any different. So, we're going to get the meaning or the understanding of waves, a disturbance that transfers energy through space or a medium. All right, let me give you that definition one more time. We are going to get the understanding or the meaning of waves, a disturbance that transfers energy through space or a medium. Now, Whisperers, today we're stepping into a conversation that every high performing individual needs, but few have mastered it. We're talking about waves, not avoiding them, not suppressing them, but learning how to experience them without being pulled under. Because here is the truth. And I really love to always come in and give you factual information all the time. The truth of the matter is, most people don't say clearly enough or even think clearly enough. You don't lose control because of your emotions. You lose control because you don't understand how to move through them. Now, see, there's a powerful difference in that. See, high performers don't struggle with intensity, they struggle with regulation. And to be regulated, it means to have something that happens on a consistent basis. So, if your emotional world is unmanaged, right, you'll quietly erode your clarity, your relationships, your health, even your decision making. So, to me, that's totality. And I do speak to you all about working in totality, and this impacts us in totality. But see, today, Whispers, we're hopefully going to even change that. And I wish you all could see the notes that I have written down because I have so much that I really want to pour into this conversation. And I really want to make it as impactful so we really understand that we're mastering emotional waves. So, we need to set the foundation. And I always tell you, we cannot build anything without a proper foundation being laid first. So, first and foremost, emotional waves are not the problem. Let me reiterate that. Emotional waves are not the problem, meaning let's ground ourselves in something important. Emotions are not interruptions, they are your internal signals. They are your body communicating before your mind fully processes everything. So these are like our warning signals. This is like if you're going down the street and the sign comes up and you're on the highway and they say in 15 miles there's going to be a detour. That is like your warning, letting you know that something is coming ahead that you may have to veer off of your regular path. So stress, frustration, overwhelm, irritation, even joy, these are not random. They're actually data. But most people were never taught how to interpret that data or data, however you want to say it. So instead, they do one of two things. They either suppress it or they drown it out. But whispers, unfortunately, neither is powerful. See, power is awareness paired with control. And control doesn't mean shutting down or shutting off. It means staying present without losing your center. That is what today is about, whispers. That is what this discussion is really leading us into. So I know that you all are ready because I tell you all the time we come in, we never leave home without our keychains so we can receive our master keys. Because this is the space and place right now that I feel that our powerful master keys have to come in. But I give out master keys in our discussions because they allow us to open up the hallways, the corridors, the secret compartments of our heart and our mind. And when I say secret compartments, those are the compartments that only you know of. Only you know how you are dealing and mastering these emotional waves or not dealing with them. But you realize that our master keys have a powerful dual purpose. They allow you to shut off the inner and outer noise that keep us from being free flowing in the emotional waves of life. Now, that is dynamic, whispers. So, look, with that being said, let's get into our first master key. Our first master key is naming emotions, precision creates power. Naming emotions, precision creates power. So here it is. Most people say, I'm stressed or I'm overwhelmed. That's not clarity, believe it or not. That literally is just a category. See, when you stay vague, your body stays reactive. Now, we had a whole discussion on that before. And if you need to, go back and pick up those master keys in that discussion. But when you name an emotion precisely to regulate it, why? Well, it's because the moment you define something, you create distance from it. So, meaning this. So instead, like I even have my clients reframe or put things in a different a statement. So saying something like I'm overwhelmed, that's just, basically like I said, it's just a category. I'm overwhelmed. But then you begin to say things like I'm mentally overloaded and emotionally fatigued. See how the clarity is there? See how you're giving it definition and really defining what it really is that you're feeling? Or maybe instead of saying I'm irritated, you say I feel dismissed or unsupported. Because see, whispers, do you hear how it really brings in that clarity? One keeps you stuck and the other gives you insight. That is how powerful it is. Naming emotions. You realize that we have had discussions in different topics and different things that we've had to go and name things. We've had to put a face with the feeling, the emotion, the texture, the tone. So let's look at why naming matters neurologically. Because, I have to bring into our discussion the neurological factors that go into things. So, when you accurately name an emotion, you engage the part of your brain responsible for reasoning and control. And you are literally shifting yourself out of emotional reactivity and into like a conscious awareness. And this is not just mindset work, whispers. This is not just mindset work. This is nervous system regulation. And all season, we have been really tapping into making sure that our nervous systems are being regulated. So let's look at the practical implementations and emotional labeling practices because sometimes we need to see how we have to implement something so we really can start to work on it and really kind of harness what it is. Notice that word. So you want to start with this daily. Now, here we go. You know, the other week I brought up about putting things into practice daily. So, asking yourself a few introspective questions is necessary. You would like to ask yourself, what exactly am I feeling right now? Then we're going to refine that even. We're going to look into it as, is this frustration or is it disappointment? Is this anxiety or is it a lack of control? Or maybe we have to pivot a little bit more and we have to say, is this anger or is this unmet expectations? See, whispers, the more specific that we get, the less power the emotion has over us. So, because now you're observing it and you're not becoming it. And that's a powerful thing in your arson. So I always tell you with your master keys, we get these keys and they're dynamic because they work congruently with other keys. And a few weeks back, you had a master key that was helping you to take a moment to pause to be able to see exactly what is the emotion, what is the feeling, what is happening. So it's like a taste, texture, feel kind of moment. But the key takeaway here is this: you cannot regulate what you refuse to define. You cannot regulate what you refuse to define. So, this takes us into our second powerful master key. And I tell you, these keys are so dynamic. Each one has a clear meaning and clear way of being used in your arsenal. So, the second master key is the emotional pause. Ooh, where your power actually lives. Now that you can name the emotion, the next step really is critical. The pause. The pause. This is where most people actually fail because when emotions rise, they react immediately. They speak too fast or even decide too quickly or react too quickly or too harshly. And they respond from the emotion, not from alignment. So, what is the emotional pause then? It's the it's the intentional. And notice the word intentional because I always tell you when something is intentional, it's done with the aim, purpose, and direction. So it's the intentional space between what you feel and what you do. It's not avoidance, it's not control. It's the moment you choose not to let your first reaction become your final decision, like to implode everything. So, let me tell you why this matters for high level individuals and individuals in general. If you're leading a business, maybe your household, a team, or even just yourself, right? At a very high standard, your reactions carry weight. They carry weight. So, one impulsive response can damage your relationships, create unnecessary conflict, distort communication, even cost you opportunities. Do you know how many people have lost out on beautiful opportunities because of not taking that emotional pause or regulating themselves and not be reactive? But a regulated response actually builds trust, It builds your authority and even stability. So, I want you to spend a few minutes in that power within that pause. Now, I've taught you all about the power in pausing. We had a full season dedicated to it a couple of years back. If you need to hear it, go back, go research, go through Whispers in a Bottle. We're right here on Podbean. All of our episodes are there, and you'll see the power in pausing is there. You may need to go and pick up those master keys so it can start to align and work with you in this beautiful area where we are now, where we are literally learning how we are going to be mastering emotional waves. Because that's what we have to do to have sustainability. That's what we have to do to have growth. That's what we have to do to maintain relationships that we are building. But Whispers, this is a space and place I love us to sit within. And you know that. And it's a passion topic of mine, even. So that's why I'm even telling you to go back and do your research because this is a true passion topic of mine. I work deeply in it inside of my agency with my clients on a regular basis. So, inside that pause, three powerful things actually get to happen that many don't even realize or even understand in that power in that pause. What happens is that your nervous system begins to settle, gets to settle down, gets to kind of start to recenter itself. And even your perspective widens. Because in that moment, when you're in that heated moment, you're so elevated in the emotion. But when you get to pause, you get to actually start to have a different breath inside of there. The perspection starts to become clearer. Expectation starts to become lighter, and understanding gets to be vivid. In your decision making, this is the third area, your decision making even improves. Now, if that's not powerful in itself, I don't know really what to tell you. Because, see, this is where emotional intelligence begins to become visibility or visible. And Whispers, when you give yourself permission to pause, it's beyond just a moment. It's where you allow yourself to reset, you allow yourself to relax, and you even allow yourself to start to trust your body. See, when I talk to you about pausing, it touches a deeper space, even in my soul. So today, I want to give you a practical way to implement this. So this is right at the 1819 marker. Okay. So this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do the 3-step pause method. All right. A 3-step pause method. And that's when you feel triggered. Okay. So the first step is that you are going to breathe deliberately. There's a difference when you are breathing deliberately because that means that your breathing isn't shallow. It's not rushed, but it's slow and intentional. So it's, see how slow and intentional that is. And you're going to take notice of each breath that you are inhaling and each breath that you are exhaling. So it's deliberate in how you're doing this. The second step is that you're going to acknowledge internally this is frustration, this is either pressure, or it could be this is fear, or this is feeling unseen, unsupported. We're acknowledging what it is internally to give it fuller definition, fuller meaning. So we are now taking that power away from it. And the third step is this: we're going to delay response. We're going to give ourselves space before we speak, before we text, or before we are deciding anything. And sometimes we have to be willing to sit back and pause so we can speak with clarity, so we can say the right things at the right time, or we can decide if this is a solid no, I will not be doing this because it is da 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 da. Doing it with clarity, doing it with precision, and keeping it in a space and place of dignity and respect. It's powerful. But Whispers, do you realize that even if you take 10 to 30 seconds to do this, it can shift everything? But let's talk about what this looks like in real time instead of reacting immediately in a tense conversation. So let me say, like, give me a moment to process that. Give me a moment to process that. That is a power move, Whispers. Now, why? You don't always come in here and I got to give you the first statement, then I want to tell you the why. It's because that isn't weakness. And see, what people may say, oh, well, they are not clear. They need time. Yeah, no, pause, put a pin in that. Hold on. Because, see, this isn't weakness. That is you commanding that space and allowing yourself to emotionally regulate in that wave. That's checkmate right there, Whispers. That is a checkmate. Put that in your arsenal. Give me a moment to process that. You know what? Hold on a second. Give me just a moment to process that. And my clients will even tell you I say that to them a lot. My family will tell you that I say that a lot as well. Because sometimes when they say certain things, you may have a knee jerk reaction, but give yourself that second to reset. Give yourself that dignity and respect that you deserve. Give me a second to process that. So, literally, key takeaway would be that your power is not in your reaction, it is in your restraint. Come on now, somebody come through with that one. Yes. So, your power is not in your reaction, it is in your restraint. So, look, I'm in here cooking with gas today. This topic is so deep into my wheelhouse and so much of power that I feel like, look, we got all the burners going on. Lord. So, look, let me give you your last master key because I'm so like revved up just to be able to share these elements with you. I always tell you, it's such a pleasure for me to come in and really to birth such beautiful discussions like this. But you realize that this would mean that we would have to have our next master key, that final master key, which would be that we would need a mindful responses and choosing alignment over impulse. Huh. Now, we move into the highest level of emotional mastery, not just feeling, not just pausing, but responding with intention. Woo, with intention. I tell you, that is the most powerful thing in your arsenal when you reply with intention, not malice, not sharpness, not harshness, but intention. So, what is a mindful response, Whispers? So, a mindful response is a decision that reflects who you are, not just what you feel. Wait a minute. Did you catch it? Did you hear it? Mindful responses is a decision that reflects who we are, not just what we feel. Literally, it aligns with your values, your standards, and your long term outcomes. Now, that's dynamic whispers. I love when we get to really get the clarity in something and really get the true assets of what it means. Like, this is like you got your pot of gold right here. If this was it, I'd be like, okay, everybody have a great day. It's been a beautiful discussion. But no, there's more that has to be layered onto this. Because while we're in that space, let's even lean into the difference between reaction and response, because that's something that we have to have clarity in as well. Because we are serving the whole banquet on this topic, Whisperers. I told you there is not one area that I'm going to miss. Even if you like that fluffy, pineapple salad, that's over on the buffet too. I promise you that. So, literally, the reaction is immediate and emotionally driven, right? Where a response is measured and intentional. See, a reaction asks, how do I feel right now? Where a response asks, what outcome do I want to create? You see the shift in that. You felt the energy in it. Why is this critical for our mind body connection? See, when we respond mindfully, we create internal safety, and your body learns I'm not at the mercy of every emotion. And that builds trust within yourself. And when your body trusts you, your stress decreases, literally, your clarity improves, and your emotional resilience expands. So now that we have a picture, right? We have a really clear picture now. Let's talk about the practical implementations, the alignment, and what alignment questions we need to be leading with. So, literally, what that means is this: before responding, we need to ask, does this response align with the life I'm building? Does this response align with the life I'm building? Does this response align with the principles I am building inside of my agency? Does this response align with how I want people to feel? Does this response, see how that is? That is a power move right there. Not, does this feel good in the moment? See, the moment. Oh, I'm going to say this because when I say it's going to implode everything. No, no, because immediate satisfaction often creates long term disruption. And that's what you don't want in your life. You don't want to constantly implode everything. You don't want to have to constantly go and rebuild everything from ground zero. Alignment creates long term stability. Alignment creates long term trust. Alignment creates respect. Respect. Beautiful a few beautiful examples of mindful responses. And I often use these, and I teach these in certain things and even trying to maneuver in a certain way. Instead of snapping in frustration, you communicate clearly. Or instead of withdrawing emotionally, you express what actually is needed. Needed, not I feel or I know what is exactly needed. And instead of reacting to pressure, you prioritize and respond strategically. That is what emotional maturity looks like, feels like, sounds like, tastes like in real time, Whisperers. But you realize that we must have a key takeaway because you have to start to prioritize things so we can understand what is the takeaway that we need to come away with. Every response is a vote for the person you are becoming. That's the key takeaway. Every response is a vote for the person you are becoming. So, with this powerful master key, we also need to know how to or integrate building a deeper mind body connection in that space. So, let's bring this together, kind of placing a beautiful bow around all of this, right? So, I'll say it like this: your body connection strengthens when you recognize what you feel. And literally, when you create space before acting, you choose responses that reflect your highest standard. And this is how you stop being controlled by emotional waves and start navigating them. Our show is Whispers in a Bottle. And so I always tell everyone that it was taken from a folklore from Irish folklore. Literally meant that these sailors was navigating that sea. They would write messages in a bottle and throw them out into the ocean. But as they was navigating, they was bringing a message and trying to put a message of clarity in there. Sometimes when we're in the waves of life, it requires that we navigate them with a little strategy. And we start to look at it and we get our GPS out that we can really kind of align and to really get ourselves centered on the right pathway. See, Whispers, do you know what happens when you master this? You don't eliminate emotions. You actually elevate your relationship with them. Your emotions no longer dictate to you, but you are in fact able to become more grounded under pressure. You are able to become more clearer in decision making. You are able to become more stable in your relationships, and you are able to become more aligned in your daily life. Whispers, this is where the real power lives. You have to be willing to sit in this, though. Your emotions are not here to control you, they are here to guide you. And so many times people allow their emotions to control and to run amok. But literally, our emotions are here not to control us, but to guide us. But only if you learn how to listen without losing yourself. Now, if you need to come pick that back up, that was at that 33.40 marker, or maybe 33.33. I always tell you that it seems like our time goes so fast when we're in here together. And high performers literally don't struggle with capability. They struggle with misalignment. And many a times when we're talking about such a powerful discussion like really being able to mastering the emotional waves, it's about misalignment. So literally if your life looks right but feels off, that's a structural issue. And I offer a private advisory by application. And there is a live link in our description box of each and every episode. Don't forget, you could always come over to Instagram and make sure you follow us at Whispers in a Bottle _podcast and send me a DM. And I will send you a link to my private advisory application as well. Make sure that you also subscribe so you're notified every time we go live, and join the Whispers Exchange newsletter because, like I said, there's so many things that have pivoted, things that have changed, and everything. I really want to make sure that you're abreast of everything and that we bring this full circle and that we keep you abreast of things. And you can always get my tools inside of the Whispers Exchange. And oh, and there's so many new things that are coming. You're not going to want to miss it as well, Whispers. Don't forget, this is our second to last episode. So before we go on our summer hiatus, and if you would like to book me as a guest on your show, have me as a guest speaker or MC for an event, please feel free to email my publicist. His name is Trey at treytheglue@gmail.com or info@whispersinabottle.podcast.com. So once again, that's treytheglue@gmail.com or info@whispersinabottle.podcast.com. I'm so sorry. So let me just say this in closing to you all, Whispers. Today I want you to practice one thing. When an emotion rises or arises, do not react immediately. I want you to name it. I want you to pause, then choose your response. And that is the shift. That is going to be powerful in itself for you, and it's going to be really something that is going to be a game changer. And if this conversation shifted something in you, make sure that you share it with someone who may need to hear this discussion as well. Don't forget to keep your master keys in your hand because Whispers, emotional waves are inevitable. Drowning, though, is optional. So learn to move with them and you'll never lose yourself again. So, with that being said, Whispers, you have been listening to Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays, a clear voice amongst the noise. Make sure you subscribe, comment on our show, and come back again next Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Central Standard, right here on Podbean. My name is Sonya LaRae, luxury lifestyle architect, but I'm always honored to say that I am your host. All right, guys, have a beautiful weekend, and I look forward to us connecting.